Hi there, I'm Deacon Steve Fraser, and today we're going to reflect just for a few minutes on Laudato Si, Pope Francis's document on creation, on nature, and on our environment. See, today more than ever, life in all its forms is being threatened. In recent decades, many countries have implemented policies for the termination of human life. Science has delivered medical and agricultural and scientific ways of making things grow faster, making things cheaper, doing things quicker. And this has simply altered the way nature does things, and especially through agriculture, when we have sterilization through farmed animals and artificial growth and some of the food that we eat. This has brought us into a place where we have the availability of anything we want as quickly as we want for as cheaply as we want. And nature and the environment and the earth has really come off second best compared to the t-shirt that we might wear or the food that we might eat. Pope Francis, in his letter, in his document on Laudato Si, notes that in the last couple of centuries, industrialization, technological advancement, economic systems, corporate greed have in many ways decimated all that we hold dear in our environment. It's altered the ways that nature uses to regenerate itself in favour of generating shareholder wealth. In direct contrast to this, millennia ago, people seemed to know more about the universe. They seemed to know more about the stars. They seemed to know more about agriculture and how to grow things. They seemed to know how to build things differently without taking away from our creation and from our world. I mean, even today, we still don't fully understand the engineering in the building of the pyramids. Yet, centuries ago, they seemed to be able to build things that lasted and lasted and lasted, but did not take away from our nature. Laudato Si asks and answers some of these questions for us. What has caused rapid change in such a short time, simply put, is because we have been used to getting what we want, when we want, and how quickly we want, and we have become indifferent to where God fits into the scheme of all of that. Just quickly, I go back to the scriptures, Genesis chapters 1 and 2, where God talks about how we were created, that He breathed life into us, that He created everything and made us stewards of all of that, and that we were to till and to look after all of this so that it would be passed on to the generations that would come after us. In the last 150 years, we have lived like the prodigal son, frittering away that which has been freely given for our own desires and for our own wants. And through the ignorance of God's grace, we've been trapped into this, and as a result, God's creation and God's nature and our environment is dying. The book of Chronicles gives us a wonderful promise, even though it's quite a hard one. It says that if my people who are called by my name would come before me and would seek my face, I will hear from heaven, I will forgive them, and I will heal their land. I mean, what a great promise that is. The corollary is that we've got to turn away from what we are doing and start thinking about that which He has given us. In the New Testament, Jesus takes it a whole nother level. He gives us a new model in which to live. The book of Acts tells us a little bit about what that model is supposed to be. Everybody, the model is all of the believers came together and they shared everything in common. They would meet together as families. They would give from those who had more to those who had less. You can see where Laudato Si is taking us. Pope Francis's message is all about fairer distribution of the world's resources. And if we use these properly, his creation will continue to regenerate those resources for us. He goes further to say that if we live lives of generosity, life will grow. If we don't live lives of generosity and keep everything to ourselves, life will die. And we are starting to see that. This year, Pope Francis has asked us to think a little bit more about Laudato Si, and he's called this a year for Laudato Si. And we are asked to think about the way that we live our lives, the way that we deal with our rubbish, the way that we share things in common, the way that we distribute things, so that we have something to pass on. See, he tells us that we don't just live for the now, that we live in an eternity with Jesus, and that our sharing is part of Jesus' eternal plan, that we are in a sharing communion that goes on with God, not just in the natural, but forever. And this is why we must look to go out and to bring Jesus, who is love, personally to all. We must turn around and become missionary again, sharing everything that we have, praying for each other, praying for our world, and living lives as if we were gifts to each other, so that all around us have all that they need, and that all around us live in the gift.